Welcome to Time of Death. This video is for informational purposes and in no way meant to glorify or condone violence. In today's video, we'll be discussing the murder of Archie DeVale Harris. Harris was shot and killed on Sunday, June 28, 2020, in the 5800 block of Orange Avenue in Long Beach, according to LA County coroner records. Gilbert Crawley was subsequently arrested and charged with the murder. The following is the evidence at trial. On June 28, 2020, defendant Crawley shot and killed victim Archie Harris. The shooting was recorded by a surveillance camera. Video showed defendant and the victim walking at 10:02 p.m. Defendant took a gun out from his waistband, racked the slide, and shot the victim once in the head, and after the victim fell to the ground, defendant shot him twice more. Video also showed defendant running away on foot. Law enforcement found a vial of phencyclidine, or PCP, in the victim's hand. A toxicology report indicated the victim was under the influence of PCP when he died. Law enforcement also found a box of cigarettes and a lighter on the ground just outside the victim's pocket. The victim and defendant both grew up in Long Beach and were friends. The victim was associated with the Insane Crips, while defendant was associated with the Rolling 20 Crips. There were several gangs in their neighborhood growing up. Members of the same family and friends were often in different gangs. At trial, defendant admitted that there was a known rivalry between the Insane Crips and the Rolling 20 Crips. However, defendant and the victim never had any issues with each other or any history of disagreements. Defendant moved to Spokane, Washington in 2013, where there were other Rolling 20 Crip members. Defendant testified that as of June of 2020, when he killed the victim, he was no longer active with the Rolling 20 Crips. On June 26 or 27, 2020, defendant flew back to Long Beach to visit friends and family. He intended to visit a friend he considered a sister, his friend Daynara, and a man named Little Goldie. Little Goldie is the brother of Ellis Spillman. Spillman was killed by a single gunshot to the head at 9:51 p.m. on June 28, 2018. Spillman was a member of the Rolling 20 Crips. On the morning of June 28, 2020, Raynell Young, the victim's cousin and defendant's old friend, was driving in Long Beach. Young had been a Rolling 20 Crip gang member. While driving, Young noticed defendant. He stopped and picked defendant up. They bought alcohol and went to Young's house to drink and hang out. After visiting Spillman's father, defendant and Young went to a park to talk to younger gang members. Next, they went to a street to drink and hang out with old friends, which included people affiliated with the Rolling 20 Crips. Defendant and Young returned to Young's apartment around 8:30 or 9 p.m. The victim was at the apartment, and he and defendant hugged and shook hands. Defendant was happy to see the victim because they were friends and had not seen each other for a long time. Defendant and the victim were happy to see each other. Defendant, Young, the victim, and Morden did not argue. Everyone greeted each other in good friendship. The victim and defendant decided to go to the store together. According to defendant, going to the store was the victim's idea. Defendant testified that before they left, the victim asked if defendant still smoked, which defendant took to refer to smoking marijuana. He said that he did. The victim passed defendant something the size of a half a blunt or a cigarette, about 4 inches long. When defendant inhaled it, he experienced a real funny chemical taste, which he did not recognize to be marijuana. When defendant remarked that it was not marijuana, the victim was laughing and made a comment, but defendant was not sure what he said. Defendant knew it was PCP because he had known people who used PCP in the past. However, he had not seen PCP since the 80s or 90s. By 2020, PCP was not common among defendant's friends and he had never used it. Defendant testified that he didn't remember anything from the remainder of June 28, 2020. The next thing he recalled was waking up at a friend's house the following day. At trial, defendant admitted that the surveillance video showed him shooting the victim, but he testified that he didn't remember doing so and didn't want to shoot the victim because he was a friend. Phone records from June 28, 2020 indicated that defendant's phone was powered off, in airplane mode, or without cell service from approximately 9:45 p.m. until 10:13 p.m. No similar half-hour gap occurred that day. On June 29, 2020, defendant was arrested for the victim's murder. The defense medical expert testified that PCP may cause blackouts, delusions, hallucinations, and violent behavior. The effects of PCP can begin within 2 or 5 minutes of consumption, and they peak within 1 hour. The people charged defendant with 1 count of murder and 1 count of possession of a firearm by a felon. The information also alleged that in the commission of the murder, defendant personally used the firearm. Following the trial, the jury found defendant guilty of second-degree murder and guilty of possession of a firearm by a felon. The jury also found true the allegation that defendant used the firearm in the commission of the murder. The court sentenced defendant to a term of 25 years to life plus 2 years in state prison. Archie DeVale Harris was 49 years old at the time of death.